Alright, let's get this party started, shall we? Should I just hold the microphone instead of fucking putting it on a stand? Actually feels like I'm hosting a TV show when I do it. It's probably shit quality anyways. Alright, let me put it back before you all start crying in the comments again. How am I like 10 seconds into the video and I'm already complaining about my fucking viewers? With the inaugural Texas GP here at last, I think it is about damn time we discuss this. If there's one thing that we can count on when it comes to Formula 1, is that there will never be a world champion coming from the US of A. And I'm sorry if I sound pessimistic to you all, but it's true. What else can I say if the only lad from the land of the free who traversed his way into the sport in the past 10 years is a guy called Logan Sargeant. And he was only drafted on the basis that it would boost viewership from the States. Poor bloke didn't know what hit him when he joined the league. All of a sudden the American bravado was gone, and instead of winning races, his core target was to just get the car across the fucking line.
In your home race, not the result you were expecting. What went wrong today?
Yeah, it is what it is, and move on.
What is possible then tomorrow on the race? What will you?
Well, it's going to be a long race. It's going to be a tough one for sure. Yeah, you never know what can happen.
What?
I have to feel bad for the kid. I mean, honestly, he had no business coming to F2, let alone F1. Instead, he was just thrown into both leagues with the pretense that he has proved his worth and put in the effort to get into the sport. In reality, the only motivation behind the move was a marketing team meeting at F1 HQ, realizing that the US numbers are kind of behind this year, so we need a boy grown on home soil on the grid for the fans to cheer on. And that's how Logan was born. Only thing they didn't account for was if that introduction was premature and Sargeant doesn't prove to be worthy of the sport, or just, ends up getting last places in pretty much every single Grand Prix he took part of in this fucking sport, it might backfire, Not the brightest ideas the sport has ever had, I have to say. In either case, it's true. Americans really fucking suck at F1 in recent times. It's just fact, innit? There hasn't been many who have made it into the sport, let alone contended for the championship. But why is that? As much as I tend to hate on the boys from the States, I mean, it's not difficult to hate on them, considering they still end up calling themselves red-blooded and free in every other conversation you have with the lads. Believe it or not, the US is not the only free country on this fucking earth. Could even argue the opposite if I'm honest. And last time I checked, we all bled red. Don't we? Well, maybe not Piastri. That boy has ice in his veins. In any case, that raises the question, why are you all so fucking shit at the sport? It's not rocket science. It's a fucking sport you lot own at the moment. How the fuck can you be so shit at it? Alright, before we get into this, I want to make a promise. I'll try to be as objective as I possibly can in this. I cannot make any guarantees that I will be. Trust me, when it comes to Americans, there are a few things that I'm more opinionated about. And often not in a good way. All I promise is that I'll try to do my best. I really will. Okay? Good. But sometimes I really consider if they have driving school over there. I mean, have you seen how those fuckers drive? In the States, it must be easier to get a driver's license than a fucking AR-15. And let me tell you, there's more places you can get those than Big Macs. Truth be told, the region just simply lacks a historical connection to the sport. One thing a lot of the Europeans take for granted is the established nature of F1 in the region. I mean, every kid on a strict diet of spaghetti and a gallon of wine had a Ferrari shirt passed down to them from their father, who got it passed on from his father, who probably had it printed in some sweatshop in Guangzhou. And believe it or not, that is important. The passion for the sport, for cars, for motor racing is passed down from generation to generation. It can hardly be taught. It has to be inherited, mate. And of course, the kids in the US also had plenty of their own examples of cars going around a racetrack a few times in a row. But let's be honest, if you can call that motor racing, then I can call doing 2 years at Williams an F1 career. If all you've done in your childhood is looked up to NASCAR, it's pretty difficult to focus on anything even remotely resembling a car race. I mean, as much as I respect the American culture, trust me, there are a plethora of things that we owe to those ingenious, greedy bastards. They invented car racing with the Indianapolis 500, which preceded F1 by like 40 years. Well, not really, as they just kind of copied the racing held in Western Europe. The first one happening in fucking 1865. But I mean, at least the first car was actually created by the Germans. not the Americans, with Carl Benz slaving away in his shop for days before he came up with the concept. And judging by his eyes, his shop must have had some pretty fucking poor ventilation when that one cylinder behemoth started to purr. Or maybe there were other things involved. But at least the ultra-processed meats and sugary sodas were theirs. That's an American invention. But I have to say, the original versions were just a better sell. Somehow obesity just wasn't a thing back then. Must have been a healthy formula. Alright, all that aside, I think there's an ever more important reason for why Americans haven't yet caught up to the rest of the world. Not only in IQ, but F1 performance as well. It's actually pretty simple. The USA is really damn good at a lot of popular sport. Basketball, American football, baseball, you name them all, and there's a few lads in stars and stripes kicking it around better than you and I could ever dream of. But the only reason why this is the case is because there's a lot of money in it. If there's something those bald eagle enthusiasts have in common, is their willingness and ability to turn everything and anything into fucking bright green dollar bills. An art form, a sport, they'd market, sell, and turn their own government into reality TV if they could. Oh wait, but F1 just hasn't been around long enough for them to see the opportunity of selling corn dogs for $10 a piece during the pit stops of the race. I mean, seriously, the sport is still a bit young in the region, and therefore, not a ridiculously enormous amount of advertising and monetizing cash has flown in for a few rich arseholes to make it their playground. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is getting bigger and bigger there now, but it takes time to develop successful breeding grounds for F1 stars. And since the sport isn't as physical as small games, it's difficult to land on the perfect human being for it. I mean, arguably the greatest example of them all is a short, stubby, balding bloke from the suburbs of the UK with a gap in his teeth. And how is an image like that supposed to sell toothpaste on a billboard in LA? Alright, let's have a bit of honesty now. To be frank, I'm nothing but jealous of you cowboys. I mean, you lot have been able to find success in pretty much any business, any sport. You pretty much own all of the music and film industry there is on this fucking planet. And F1 is just this one little thing that we still hold on to over here. So, that's it. I'm just a sour, butthurt little man trying to poke the bear with my only stick. But truth be told, I don't give a fuck. I'll ride this train into the sunset if that's what's required of me. So, I'll keep shitting on you boys until you find someone good enough you can bring to the sport and challenge the Phineas and Ferb we have over here. But until then, you can kiss my British ass, bitch.